Marcus Washington grew up in a small house on the south side of Chicago. His mother taught third grade at the local elementary school, and his father drove a city bus. They didn't have much money. They had big dreams for their only son. From a young age, Marcus showed he was special. When he was just 10 years old, he started selling lemonade on hot summer days. But Marcus wasn't like other kids with lemonade stands. He made signs that he put up all around the neighborhood. He offered free delivery to elderly neighbors who couldn't walk to his stand. By the end of his first summer, he had made enough money to buy his own bicycle. "That boy has business in his blood," his grandmother often said, watching him count his earnings at the kitchen table. In high school, Marcus started a lawn care service. He began by mowing lawns for neighbors with his father's old push mower. Soon, he saved enough to buy a better mower. Then he hired 2 friends to help him. By the time he graduated high school, Washington Lawn Care had 5 employees and served over 30 houses in the neighborhood. Marcus was the first in his family to go to college. He worked 2 jobs to pay for his classes at the local community college. His day started at 5 a.m. when he would stock shelves at a grocery store. After classes, he worked evening shifts at a hotel downtown. The hotel job changed everything for Marcus. "I fell in love with the hotel business on my first day," Marcus later told a reporter. There was something magical about creating a perfect experience for guests. At the hotel, Marcus did every job imaginable. He carried bags, cleaned rooms, worked at the front desk, and even helped in the kitchen when they were short-staffed. A hotel manager, Mr. Thompson, noticed his hard work and took Marcus under his wing. "You have what it takes to run your own hotel someday," Mr. Thompson told him one evening. "But you need to understand every part of the business from the ground up." Marcus took this advice to heart. He transferred to a university with a strong hospitality program, still working nights and weekends at the hotel. He studied harder than anyone else in his class. While other students partied on weekends, Marcus was learning everything he could about hotel management. After college, Marcus worked at bigger and better hotels. He moved from Chicago to New York, then to Los Angeles. At each hotel, he impressed his bosses with his work ethic and fresh ideas. By the time he was 30, he was managing one of the top hotels in Miami. But Marcus never forgot his dream of owning his own hotel. He saved every dollar he could. He met with investors and shared his vision for a new kind of luxury hotel, one that combined top-level service with a warm, welcoming feeling that made every guest feel at home. Most investors turned him down. "Too risky," they said. "The market is too competitive." But Marcus didn't give up. He revised his business plan again and again. He worked even harder, earning promotions and building his reputation in the industry. Finally, when Marcus was 35, a small group of investors believed in him enough to take a chance. Together, they purchased a struggling hotel in Atlanta. The building was beautiful but outdated. The service was poor. The hotel was losing money every month. "Give me 1 year," Marcus promised his investors. 1 year to turn this place around. Marcus poured everything he had into that hotel. He renovated rooms one by one. He trained the staff personally. He greeted guests in the lobby, remembered their names, and made sure every detail was perfect. Slowly but surely, the hotel's reputation began to change. Guests started coming back. Good reviews appeared online. After exactly 1 year, the hotel was not just breaking even, it was making a profit. This was just the beginning of Marcus Washington's journey to becoming one of the most successful black hotel owners in America. The success of Marcus Washington's first hotel in Atlanta was just the beginning. With profits from the first year, Marcus started planning his next move. He didn't want just one successful hotel. He wanted to build something bigger. A single hotel can fail if the neighborhood changes or if a competitor opens nearby, Marcus explained to his small team, but a collection of hotels in different cities. That's a business that can last. Marcus spent the next 3 years focused on making his Atlanta hotel the best it could be. He paid back his investors faster than promised. He won awards for the hotel's service and design. Important people in the city started booking the hotel for special events. The mayor even held a charity dinner there. With his growing reputation, Marcus found it easier to get meetings with bigger investors. In one meeting with a bank, he laid out his vision. "I want to create hotels that feel like home, but better than home," he said. "Places where guests feel seen and respected, no matter who they are." The bank liked his ideas and his proven track record. They agreed to help him buy his second hotel, this time in Chicago, his hometown. Marcus felt like his life had come full circle when he could call his parents with the news. "Mom, Dad, remember that fancy hotel downtown where we used to walk by and look at the Christmas decorations in the lobby?" he said on the phone. "I just bought it." His mother cried. His father was silent for a long moment before saying, "Your grandfather would have been so proud, son." The Chicago hotel needed even more work than the Atlanta location. Marcus moved back to his hometown for 6 months to oversee the renovations. He hired local workers, many from neighborhoods like the one where he grew up. He wanted to give opportunities to people who might not usually get them. "Mr. Washington doesn't just talk about community," said Jamal Lewis, one of the construction workers Marcus hired. "He actually builds it." With 2 successful hotels, Marcus created Washington Luxury Properties. His company logo, a simple doe with a star above it, soon became known for quality and excellence. Travel magazines wrote about his hotels. Business schools used his company as a case study. Over the next 5 years, Marcus added hotels in Dallas, Miami, and New York. Each one followed his special formula: beautiful buildings in good locations that needed some love and attention to become great again. Unlike other luxury hotel owners, Marcus was hands-on with every property. He knew the names of his staff members. He tasted every dish on the hotel restaurant menus. He slept in different rooms to make sure the beds were comfortable and the noise levels were acceptable. "Details matter" became his company motto. At 42 years old, Marcus Washington had become one of the most successful black entrepreneurs in the hospitality industry. His net worth had grown to over $50 million. He was invited to speak at conferences and universities. Young people, especially young black men and women interested in business, looked up to him. But success also brought challenges. As his company grew, Marcus couldn't be everywhere at once. He had to trust managers to maintain his high standards. He had to rely on training programs to make sure every employee understood the Washington Luxury Properties way of treating guests. When Marcus announced plans for his 6th hotel in San Francisco, the business world took notice. This would be different from his previous projects. Instead of buying an existing hotel, Marcus was building one from the ground up in a prime location near the waterfront. "This is my dream hotel," Marcus told reporters at the groundbreaking ceremony. "Everything I've learned over the years will go into making this the finest property in our collection." The San Francisco project took 2 years to complete. Marcus was involved in every decision, from the height of the ceilings to the thread count of the sheets. When construction was finally finished, the Washington San Francisco became the jewel of his growing empire. Little did Marcus know that this crown jewel would also be the setting for one of the most important moments in his career, a moment that would test his values and change his company forever. 6 months after the grand opening of the Washington San Francisco, Marcus decided to make a surprise visit to check on how things were running. He had just finished a business trip in Los Angeles and decided to fly up to San Francisco instead of heading back to the company headquarters in Atlanta. Marcus didn't tell anyone at the hotel he was coming. As the CEO, he knew that announced visits often didn't show the real picture. Staff would prepare for days, everything would be perfect, and you wouldn't see how things truly operated day to day. "The only way to know if a hotel is living up to our standards is to experience it like a regular guest," Marcus often told his management team. It was a Tuesday evening when Marcus's private car dropped him off at the hotel. He had been traveling all day and looked tired. He wore simple jeans, a plain black t-shirt, and sneakers, comfortable clothes for the flight, not the expensive suits he usually wore to business meetings. His only luggage was a small backpack and a carry-on suitcase. Marcus stood outside for a moment, looking up at his beautiful hotel. The building was 20 stories of glass and steel, with balconies for each room and large windows that let in the famous San Francisco light. The entrance had tall wooden doors with the Washington W logo carved into them. Beautiful flowers in large pots sat on either side of the doors. As he walked through the lobby, Marcus felt proud. The space was exactly as he had designed it, open and airy with comfortable seating areas where guests could relax. The marble floors shined, and soft music played in the background. He noticed small details that pleased him: fresh flowers on the tables, staff members greeting guests with smiles, the lobby perfectly clean. Marcus walked up to the front desk. A young woman named Emma stood behind the counter. She had blonde hair pulled back in a neat bun and wore the Washington Hotel's uniform, a navy blue blazer with the W pin on the lapel. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to Washington, San Francisco," Emma said with a professional smile. She looked at Marcus with a quick glance up and down, taking in his casual clothes and tired appearance. "Thank you. I'd like a room for tonight, please," Marcus said politely. "Do you have a reservation with us?" Emma asked, her fingers hovering over her computer keyboard. "No, I don't. This was a last-minute decision," Marcus explained. "I see," Emma said, her smile becoming a bit tighter. "Let me check what we have available." As Emma typed on her computer, Marcus looked around the lobby more carefully. He noticed a spot on one of the mirrors that needed cleaning. He made a mental note to mention it to the housekeeping manager tomorrow. "We do have some rooms available," Emma said after a moment. "Our standard rooms start at $450 per night, and we have our deluxe rooms at $600. "Actually, I'd prefer the presidential suite," Marcus said. Emma looked up from her computer, surprise clear on her face. The presidential suite was the most expensive room in the hotel, costing $5,000 per night. "The presidential suite," she repeated slowly. "Sir, that suite is quite expensive. It might be more than you're looking for. We have some very nice standard rooms that I'm sure would be more suitable." Marcus noticed how Emma's eyes flickered to his casual clothes and backpack. He understood immediately what was happening, but kept his face neutral. "I'm aware of the price," he said calmly. "I'd still like the presidential suite, please." Emma seemed uncomfortable. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other and gave a small, nervous laugh. "Of course, sir. It's just that the presidential suite is usually booked by business executives or celebrities. Perhaps one of our junior suites would be more appropriate. They're still very luxurious but more reasonably priced." Marcus could feel other guests in the lobby looking their way. He kept his voice low and steady. "I understand your concern, but I specifically want the presidential suite. Is it available tonight or not?" Emma nodded reluctantly. "Yes, it's available. I'll just need a credit card for the reservation and a valid ID, please." Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. As he handed over his black American Express card and driver's license, he wondered how Emma would react when she saw his name. Emma took Marcus's black American Express card and driver's license with a slightly doubtful expression. She glanced at the card, then at the license, then back at Marcus. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw the name, but she didn't make the connection. "Mr. Washington," she said slowly, reading his name off the ID. "Like the hotel?" "Yes, exactly like the hotel," Marcus replied with a small smile. Emma laughed politely, assuming it was just a coincidence. What a funny coincidence. "Well, Mr. Washington, let me process this for you." As Emma typed his information into the computer, she continued making small talk. "Is this your first time in San Francisco, Mr. Washington?" "No, I've been here many times," Marcus answered. "And what brings you to our city today? Business or pleasure?" Emma asked, still typing. "A bit of both, actually," Marcus said. "I'm here to check on some investments." Emma nodded without really listening. She was focused on the computer screen, which was now showing Marcus's credit card information. The card was approved, of course, but Emma still seemed hesitant. "Sir, I just want to confirm that you understand the presidential suite is $5,000 per night, plus tax. That comes to $5,475 for tonight. And there's also a $1,000 security deposit that will be returned after checkout if there are no damages." Marcus nodded patiently. "Yes, I understand." Emma lowered her voice. "We also have a beautiful executive suite for only $1,500 per night. It has almost all the same amenities as the presidential suite, but at a third of the price. Would you like me to check if that's available instead?" Marcus could see that Emma was trying to be helpful. She probably thought she was saving him from making an expensive mistake, but her assumptions were based solely on how he looked at that moment. Tired, in casual clothes, traveling alone. "I appreciate your concern," Marcus said calmly, "but I specifically want the presidential suite." Emma nodded, though she still looked uncertain. "Of course, sir. It's just unusual for someone to. Most guests who book the presidential suite usually call ahead, and they typically arrive with She stopped herself from finishing the sentence. With what? Marcus asked, though he knew exactly what she meant. Well, with more luggage, usually, Emma finished awkwardly. And often they have assistants or, anyway, it doesn't matter. Let me finish processing your room. As Emma continued typing, Marcus noticed her glancing at his simple backpack and small suitcase. He also noticed how other staff members at the front desk were looking at him curiously. Will you be needing help with your luggage, Mr. Washington? Emma asked, handing back his credit card and ID. No, thank you, I can manage, Marcus replied. And how will you be arriving to the hotel? Do you have a car that needs parking? She asked. I was just dropped off, Marcus said. Emma nodded. I see. Most of our presidential suite guests arrive by private car or limousine, so we usually arrange for premium parking. But if you don't have a vehicle, that's fine too. Marcus simply nodded. It was clear that Emma was struggling to reconcile his appearance with his choice of the most expensive suite in the hotel. Will you be dining with us tonight? Emma asked as she prepared his room key. The presidential suite includes a complimentary breakfast, but dinner is separate. Our restaurant is quite exclusive and requires a reservation, which I'd be happy to make for you. The way she emphasized exclusive made it clear that she was subtly warning him about the restaurant's high prices and dress code. I might order room service tonight, Marcus said. It's been a long day. Of course, Emma replied, sounding relieved. Room service is available 24 hours a day. Finally, she handed him the key card to the presidential suite. You're all set, Mr. Washington. The elevators are to your right. The presidential suite is on the top floor, room 2001. You'll need to use your key card in the elevator to access that floor. Thank you, Emma, Marcus said, reading her name tag. As he walked toward the elevators, Marcus heard Emma pick up the phone at the front desk. He couldn't hear what she was saying, but he suspected she was calling security or management to give them a heads up about the unusual guest in the presidential suite. Marcus wasn't angry. He had experienced this kind of treatment before, even as his wealth and success grew. But he was disappointed that it was happening in his own hotel, a place where he had specifically created policies to ensure all guests were treated with equal respect, regardless of their appearance. Marcus stepped into the elevator and used his key card to access the top floor. As the doors closed, he took a deep breath. The interaction with Emma had been disappointing but not surprising. Even after all his success, after building a hotel empire worth millions, he still faced the same assumptions based on his appearance. When the elevator doors opened on the top floor, Marcus was pleased to see that this part of the hotel, at least, was perfect. The hallway was wide and well lit, with beautiful artwork on the walls. The carpet was thick and spotless. Everything looked exactly as he had designed it. Marcus found room 2001 and used his key card to enter the presidential suite. Inside, he smiled at the magnificent space. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of San Francisco Bay. The living room had comfortable furniture arranged around a marble fireplace. A dining table that could seat 8 people stood near a fully stocked kitchen. Through an open door, you could see the master bedroom with its king-size bed and luxurious bathroom beyond. At least the room is perfect, Marcus said to himself. He had just set down his backpack when the house phone rang. Marcus picked it up. Hello, Mr. Washington. This is Emma from the front desk. I just wanted to make sure the room is to your satisfaction. Yes, it's fine, thank you, Marcus replied. Excellent. Also, sir, I should inform you that our hotel has a dress code for common areas after 7 p.m. Business casual attire is required in the lobby, restaurants, and bars. Marcus looked at his watch. It was 6:45 p.m. Thank you for letting me know, Emma, he said politely. After hanging up, Marcus shook his head. He knew the hotel had no such policy. Emma was making it up to ensure he wouldn't come downstairs in his current clothes. Marcus decided to unpack a few things and then go down to the hotel restaurant for dinner. He opened his suitcase and took out a crisp white shirt, black pants, and a navy blue blazer, the same style of blazer that all Washington Luxury Properties executives wore at official functions. After a quick shower, Marcus changed into these clothes. He also put on his gold watch and the special pin that all executives in his company wore, a small gold W with a diamond in the center. He looked at himself in the mirror and smiled. Now he looked like the Marcus Washington that business magazines featured on their covers. Downstairs, the lobby was busier than before. A group had arrived for a business conference, and the staff was busy checking them in. Marcus noticed Emma still at the front desk, now helping an older couple. He walked past the front desk toward the hotel restaurant. The restaurant host, a young man named James, looked up as Marcus approached. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation?" James asked. "No, I don't," Marcus replied. "I'm sorry, sir, but we're fully booked tonight. Perhaps you'd like to try our bar menu instead. The bar has some excellent options." Before Marcus could respond, he heard a loud gasp from behind him. He turned to see Thomas Chen, the hotel manager, rushing across the lobby toward him. Thomas had worked for Washington Luxury Properties for 5 years and had been personally selected by Marcus to manage the San Francisco property. "Mr. Washington." "Sir." "What a surprise," Thomas exclaimed, extending his hand. "We had no idea you were coming today." Marcus shook Thomas's hand with a smile. "That was the idea, Thomas. I wanted to experience the hotel as a regular guest." The restaurant host's face drained of color. "Mr. Washington? As in?" "Yes, James. This is Marcus Washington, our CEO and owner," Thomas confirmed. James stammered. "I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't recognize you. Of course we have a table for you. The best table in the house." As this scene unfolded, Emma walked over from the front desk, curious about the commotion. When she saw Marcus standing there in his business clothes, being treated like royalty by the hotel manager, her eyes grew wide with shock. "Mr. Washington," she asked in a small voice, "are you the Mr. Washington, the owner?" Marcus turned to her with a gentle smile. "Yes, Emma. The hotel is named after me because I own it, along with all the other Washington hotels." Emma's face turned bright red. She looked like she might faint. "Sir, I am so sorry. I had no idea. When you arrived, you looked—" Thomas, the manager, looked confused. "Is everything all right? Was there a problem with Mr. Washington's check-in?" Marcus knew this moment would shape Emma's future at the hotel, and possibly his company's future too. What he decided to do next would make all the difference. The entire lobby seemed to freeze. Emma stood with her face bright red, Thomas looked confused and worried, and James, the restaurant host, seemed unsure whether to lead Marcus to a table or wait for the situation to resolve. Marcus turned to Thomas with a calm voice. "Thomas, I'd like to have a private conversation with Emma. Could we use your office?" "Of course, Mr. Washington," Thomas replied quickly. "Right this way." As they walked toward the management office, Marcus could feel Emma trembling beside him. Other staff members watched with concerned expressions, whispering to each other. Everyone knew something serious had happened, but no one knew exactly what. Thomas opened his office door and stepped aside. "Would you like me to stay, sir?" he asked. "No, thank you, Thomas. Emma and I will be fine on our own," Marcus replied. When the door closed, Marcus gestured to the small sitting area in the corner of the office. "Please have a seat, Emma." Emma sat down, her hands fidgeting in her lap. She looked like she might start crying at any moment. "Mr. Washington, I am so sorry. I had no idea who you were. If I had known." Marcus raised his hand gently to stop her. "That's exactly what I want to talk about, Emma. The fact that you didn't know who I was." He sat down across from her, his posture relaxed but his eyes serious. "How long have you worked for Washington Luxury Properties?" he asked. 2 weeks, sir," Emma replied in a small voice. "I just finished training last Friday." Marcus nodded. "And during your training, did they show you pictures of the executive team? Did they mention what I look like?" Emma thought for a moment. "We saw the executive team photo on the company website during orientation, but it was a group photo, and it was just shown briefly during a presentation about the company history." "I see," Marcus said thoughtfully. "So when I arrived tonight in casual clothes, tired from traveling, you had no way to recognize me." "No, sir," Emma admitted, "but that's no excuse for how I treated you." "How did you treat me, Emma?" Marcus asked, his voice calm and curious, not angry. Emma looked down at her hands. I made assumptions. I thought you couldn't afford the presidential suite. I tried to steer you toward cheaper rooms. I made up a dress code policy. I judged you by your appearance. And if I had been a wealthy tech CEO who dresses casually, or a famous musician who travels light, would you have made the same assumptions? Emma was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, she finally said. Maybe not. Why not? Marcus pressed. Emma took a deep breath. Because you're black, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. And I made assumptions based on that. The room was silent for a moment. Marcus appreciated her honesty. Thank you for being truthful, Emma. Many people would try to deny their bias or make excuses. He leaned forward slightly. I built this company with a specific vision in mind. I wanted to create luxury hotels where every person feels welcome and respected, regardless of how they look. That's why our company motto is Details Matter. It's not just about the thread count of our sheets or the quality of our room service. It's about how we treat people. Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. And I completely failed at that tonight. I'll pack up my things and leave right away. Marcus shook his head. That's not why I brought you here, Emma. She looked up, surprised. You're not firing me. No, Marcus said firmly. Firing you would be easy, but it wouldn't solve the real problem. The real problem is that our training program failed you. We didn't give you the tools to recognize and overcome bias. We didn't emphasize enough that in our hotels, we judge people by how we treat them, not by how they look. Emma wiped away a tear. So what happens now? Marcus smiled gently. Now we learn from this. I'm going to work with our training team to improve how we prepare our staff, and you're going to help me. Help you? Emma asked, confused. Yes, Marcus said. Starting tomorrow, you're going to work directly with our HR team to develop better training materials. Your experience tonight is going to help us make sure this doesn't happen to other employees or guests in the future. For the first time that evening, Emma smiled. Thank you, Mr. Washington. I won't let you down. The morning after the incident, Marcus called an emergency meeting with his executive team. They gathered in the hotel's conference room at 7 a.m., many of them still surprised by their CEO's unexpected visit. Thomas, the hotel manager, looked especially nervous. I didn't call this meeting to point fingers or place blame, Marcus began, his voice calm and thoughtful. What happened last night revealed a serious problem in our company, and I want us to fix it together. Marcus explained what had happened during check-in without mentioning Emma by name. He described how he had been treated differently because of his casual clothes and his race. Our company was built on the idea that everyone deserves respect, Marcus continued. But last night showed me that we're not living up to that promise. Sarah Johnson, the company's head of human resources, spoke up. This is completely unacceptable, Marcus. We should terminate the employee immediately. Marcus shook his head. That's the easy solution, but it's not the right one. The young woman who checked me in was just 2 weeks out of training. She made a mistake, yes, but our system failed her. We didn't prepare her properly. For the next 2 hours, the team discussed what needed to change. They reviewed the current training program and identified its weaknesses. They talked about how to build a more inclusive company culture. By the end of the meeting, they had a plan. Marcus called it the Washington Way Forward. The first part of the plan involved completely rebuilding the company's training program. Emma was brought in to work directly with the HR team. Her experience and perspective proved invaluable. We need to talk openly about bias, Emma explained during one planning session. In my training, we discussed customer service and hotel policies, but nobody ever mentioned how to recognize when you're making assumptions about guests based on how they look. The new training program included real-world scenarios, role-playing exercises, and honest discussions about bias. Every employee, from housekeepers to executives, would go through this training. Marcus himself participated in the first session to show how important it was. The second part of the plan focused on hiring. Marcus realized that his company's staff didn't reflect the diversity of the cities where his hotels were located. We need to cast a wider net, he told his HR team. I want to see candidates from different backgrounds, different neighborhoods, different life experiences. The company partnered with community colleges and job training programs in underserved areas. They offered paid internships to students who might not otherwise have opportunities in the luxury hotel industry. The third part of the plan involved the guests. Marcus wanted to make sure that everyone who stayed at a Washington hotel felt truly welcome. Our definition of luxury needs to change, Marcus explained to his marketing team. Luxury isn't just about expensive things, it's about how you make people feel. The company updated its advertising to show a more diverse range of guests. They removed language about dress codes from their websites and brochures. They trained staff to greet every guest with the same level of respect and attention, whether they arrived in jeans or in a business suit. 6 months after that night in San Francisco, the changes were already making a difference. Employee satisfaction scores had improved. Guest reviews mentioned the warm, welcoming atmosphere more often than before. Emma had found her calling in the training department. She traveled to each hotel location to help implement the new programs. Her honesty about her own mistake made it easier for other employees to recognize and address their biases. I could have lost my job that night, Emma often told the training groups. Instead, Mr. Washington saw an opportunity to make things better for everyone. During this time, Marcus kept a close eye on how the changes were being implemented. He still made surprise visits to his hotels, sometimes dressed in casual clothes, sometimes in business attire. He was pleased to see that gradually, the treatment he received became more consistent regardless of how he was dressed. 1 year after the incident, Marcus invited Emma to join him for dinner at the San Francisco hotel restaurant. They sat at a quiet table in the corner, reflecting on how much had changed. "When you sat me down in that office, I thought my career was over," Emma admitted. "I never imagined that night would lead to all this." Marcus smiled. Sometimes the most important lessons come from the most uncomfortable moments. What matters is what we do afterward. 5 years had passed since that fateful night in San Francisco. Marcus Washington stood at the podium in a large conference hall in Chicago, looking out at the audience of over 1,000 people. They had gathered for the annual Hospitality Industry Leadership Conference, and Marcus was this year's keynote speaker. "Thank you all for that warm welcome," Marcus began, his voice confident and clear. "Today, I want to talk about something that changed my company forever, a moment when I was judged not as the CEO of Washington Luxury Properties, but simply as a black man in casual clothes." The audience listened in silence as Marcus told the story of checking into his own hotel and being treated differently because of how he looked. He described Emma's assumptions and how he had chosen to respond. "I could have fired her on the spot," Marcus said. "I could have made an example of her. But what would that have solved? The real problem wasn't one employee's mistake. The real problem was much bigger." Marcus clicked a button, and a slide appeared on the screen behind him showing the original Washington Way Forward plan from 5 years ago. "This was just the beginning," he explained. "What started as a response to one incident has become the foundation of our entire company culture." Washington Luxury Properties had grown significantly over the past 5 years. The company now owned 15 hotels across the United States and had recently opened its first international location in London. Each property was known not just for its beautiful rooms and excellent service, but for its inclusive, welcoming atmosphere. "Our occupancy rates are the highest in the industry," Marcus told the audience. "Our customer satisfaction scores have increased every year. Our employee retention rate is 95%, compared to the industry average of 70%. These impressive numbers weren't just good for business, they showed that treating people with dignity and respect was also profitable." Marcus clicked to the next slide, which showed a picture of Emma. "This is Emma Taylor, who now serves as our Vice President of Training and Culture," Marcus said proudly. "The same woman who once tried to steer me away from the presidential suite now helps train every single employee in our company." Emma stood up from her seat in the front row, and the audience applauded. She had transformed from a nervous front desk receptionist to a confident executive. Under her leadership, the Washington training program had become famous throughout the industry. Other hotel chains had started to adopt similar approaches. "The most valuable lesson I've learned as a business leader is this," Marcus continued. "True change doesn't come from firing people who make mistakes. It comes from creating systems that help people do better." After his speech, many people lined up to talk with Marcus. Some wanted business advice. Others wanted to share their own experiences with bias in the hospitality industry. A young black college student approached Marcus with a look of admiration. "Mr. Washington, Your story inspired me to pursue a career in hotel management, the student said. I'm graduating next month, and I've applied for your management training program. Marcus smiled and shook the young man's hand. What's your name? David Johnson, sir. Well, David, I look forward to seeing what you'll contribute to our company and to this industry. Later that evening, Marcus and Emma had dinner together, as they often did when traveling for business. 5 years, Emma said, raising her glass in a toast. Sometimes I still can't believe how much has changed since that night. Marcus clinked his glass against hers. And we're just getting started. Back at the Washington San Francisco, the hotel where it all began, things had changed too. The staff was more diverse. The training was more thorough. And on the wall behind the front desk hung a small plaque with the words that had become the company's new motto. At Washington Hotels, we see you for who you are, not how you appear. Every guest is a VIP. Every person deserves respect. Every detail matters. The hotel that had once made its owner feel unwelcome had become a model for the entire industry, proof that doing the right thing could also be good for business. What had started as an uncomfortable moment for one CEO and one receptionist had grown into a movement that was changing how people were treated, not just in hotels, but in businesses everywhere.